Oh, hi. We just arrived in the Khoroo River Valley after about 5 hours of pretty grueling riding over the pass. I hope that the footage came out the right way, because it was friggin' insane. We were kind of just trying to force the animals on over the pass while the snow came down and the wind blew. At least the wind blew behind us instead of in front of us. Right now I'm taking a walk instead of riding, just to stretch my legs out and give my ass a rest. But we're just about in the winter pastures that people use. So the river valley is stretched out right in front of us. You can see the animals moving downhill. It's kind of rocky terrain right now. It almost reminds me of like Mount St. Helens. And at some points during the ride up over the pass, we had almost like whiteout conditions. Not as bad as I've been in. I've been in worse in the Cascades on the west coast, but adding being on horseback, trying to force a bunch of animals along a migration route, trying to work cameras, and wearing this 40-pound piece of sheep leather on my body added some new dimensions of difficulty and complexity. Right now I'm still in those felt boots. My feet are totally warm and totally dry, but they are horrible for walking. I don't know if you can see how shaky the video is, but I'm kind of stumbling along here, almost ready to get back on the horse to ride down. But I can tell if it wasn't so windy and cold and snowy, this would be a pretty damn beautiful view. And it doesn't seem like all that bad of a place to spend the winter. So you can see the animals moving down in front of us. We ended up meeting up with another herder, this guy who you see walking in front of me with the horse. We ended up meeting up with him last night, and he's moving over the pass alone. So he joined up with us, and that's why we have all these extra cattle and a couple of extra oxen and a few yaks. Overall, the ride was pretty good, pretty interesting, definitely, and pretty grueling, really. We got into one kind of hairy situation where one of the oxen threw its load after hitting into a tree on the way up into the beginning of the pass, and we tried to ride around it, and I ended up following a bunch of cows to lead them up the trail a little bit. And there's all switchbacks up there, so the trail kind of zigzags on the really steep parts. And I heard from one of the people in the group, oh, I just slipped again. Just follow the cattle up and lead them up to us. But they were headed off in one direction that seemed to me like a completely empty valley. It led God knows where, into Siberia, where, I don't know, where the nearest town would be, probably 100 miles from here. But I led them up there, and they were heading in the same direction as me, but I ended up losing track of them and didn't know that they were heading in the same direction as me. They were over another ridge line, and I could hear the sounds of their voices, but they sounded like they were heading in the opposite direction instead of the same direction. So what I decided to do was calling out. They were responding to me, but I couldn't make out what they were saying, and their voices were getting more and more distant. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be lost in the middle of what might as well be Siberia, wearing sheepskin and a bunch of felt boots. They're like felt slippers, almost. That's what they feel like. walking in the snow right now. Now, that's probably the best thing to wear, because I'd be warm, but who wants that headache of having to press the little red button on my sat phone and having to get a helicopter in here to come get me out? That wouldn't be good, that's for sure. My hair is a complete mess. So I ended up stopping, getting off the horse, stopping the cattle, and then taking out a whistle and blowing 3 times, which, if you blow 3 times into the whistle, that's kind of the international, or one of the international signals for distress. So I did that, and then I ended up seeing them and hearing them again. They appeared over that ridge line, so everything was okay, but didn't seem that nice at the time. I do have some survival gear in my backpack, stuff for making fires, an emergency blanket, a sat phone that's fully charged, that has an SOS button on it, but there's no guarantee that you can depend on that stuff, especially when you're in these kinds of conditions. Is it going to have signal? Is it not going to have signal? What's going to happen? So, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, I guess. But I had that. I have an emergency kit. I have a compass. I have some extra socks and clothes. I have a knife. I have water purification tablets and a water bottle, a steel water bottle, or aluminum, so at least if I needed to use it as a pot, I could. And 2 emergency blankets, one to wrap my body in if I need it, one to rig up as a roof. And speaking of that, I also have about 100 meters of rope in my bag as well. And maybe I could do a separate video on that stuff, but then again, this is not Survivor Man. This is, I don't know, me fucking around in northern Mongolia, but might be interesting for you to see that. Anyway, I'm rambling now anyway, and I should probably look where I'm walking, but we're heading back into the tree line now. And the worst is over, it seems, right now, in the migration. I really hope that footage came out, because it was pretty sick. And normally I would try to steer the horse around people to try to give you a view of the animals. It was pretty much bumper to bumper with our horses. It really hurts when you bang somebody's horse bangs into your leg and it's already stiff and cramping. So hopefully that footage came out, because it should be really cool. Anyway, let me catch up with the rest of the people, and I'll catch up with you when we get to the winter camp.